Yeah, I helped him
booked,
paint the place and everything when he first got it. We used to hang out there before he even opened it for months.
Start? Like, what was your memory of that?
Well, Tom Guido was just like a local North Beach freak who he lived on Columbus and just sort of he was obsessed with the '60s and he started doing a night that he called the Fuzz Club at this place called Morty's, which was on Kearny. Also, it was right across the street from the Palladium.
Okay.
And anyway, that was an old jazz club. It had been like a jazz club in the '50s and maybe even earlier than that. And at that time, they were trying to kind of become they were trying to be hip. The place was trying to be hip, and so they were having like rock bands play there. And he started doing this night called the Fuzz Club, which, you know, making a reference to '60s guitar music, and he was booking like whatever kinds of bands were around at the time that were doing kind of '60s sort of stuff, which weren't really very many. So it was a very like meagerly haphazard kind of club. It wasn't very well organized, and it never really happened on a regular basis, and he didn't really have enough bands to really feed the fire. but it was, you know, it was a fun time for a long time, and he was doing clubs there, and then he did a few fuzz clubs in other places too, and I can't remember where. Like, I really don't remember where else he did. He did them in a couple other places after he wore out his welcome at Morty's. Oh, I remember. He did one at the On Broadway, which was upstairs from the Mabuhay. It was like this giant. It was a beautiful, like, old vaudeville theater with a great big old curtained stage and stuff like that. It was a really neat place. I videotaped that night, actually. We had the Syndicate of Sound play, the San Jose band from the '60s that had that hit little girl or something like that, and then the Mummies also played, and he got in a big fight with the owners. Anyway, it was just, he always was getting in fights with people. He needed to have his own place, and he had a little bit of a trust fund, you know, that from his parents. Both his parents had died in some like tragic accident, and left him a little bit of money from some insurance settlement, and so he found out that the place where the old Purple Onion was, which had been a club in the 50s and 60s in San Francisco. Famously, the Smothers Brothers recorded an album there, but also all these other people got started there. Barbara Streisand's first gigs were there.
Peter,
Paul and Mary, Lenny Bruce, Phyllis Diller,
Mort
a lot
Saul.
of people, Mort Saul, a lot of people got
Kingston Trio,
all that whole ilk, you know, folk singers and comedians. It was one of those places, like the Hungry Eye, you know. But it hadn't been the Purple Onion in many years. It had been like a, what was it, like a Filipino, like, hooker bar or something like that. It was something weird like that. Some weird, I don't know. I don't know what it was exactly. Something that
something sleazy.
Something sleazy. Yeah. It's something that none of us would ever have gone to. I don't, you know. But anyway, it was for, I don't know, there's not much of a story to it. He just rented it, and
what year was that? Do you remember?
Oh, that had to have been about 1992.
Okay.
Let me think. I think it was 92. Yeah.
92.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we spent. I helped him out. It was a group of people that were all good friends with Tom that all kind of pitched in and helped out, setting the place up and everything. And that included me and this girl named Laura Gregory, and who was Jason Kaczynski's girlfriend at the time, and Eric Bloom, and, you know, a group of people that all sort of just pitched in. And he got a jukebox, and we set up the stage all group. It was just, you know, we set it up in a kind of neat way. It was really kind of half-baked. He just had like a keg in the back. He didn't ever have a real bar. He just had a keg, and he would give people drinks out of plastic cups and stuff. But I remember the very first gig was this group called Camel Toe, featuring Julie Pawlowski. singing. I don't know if you all know Julie Pavatsky, but she, they were a really great band at the time. This little like neat kind of girl group. They were really good. They were really charming and clever, and they were the first band to play. And at the time he was only doing. When he first started, he only did like one show a week, and that was like the first Saturday night. And then the following Saturday night, my band played, and so I played the second show ever there. And then
what band was that?
Benjamin Kitestring. It was our second show.
Benjamin Kitestring.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he wanted it to be mostly '60s kinds of groups, but it never really panned out because there just weren't enough of those bands to go around. So it ended up like having a bunch of like, it ended up being this place where like fledgling punk bands from the suburbs could get gigs. It was like
but any kind of band that were sort of '60s influenced did wind up.
Yeah.
He would definitely.
They would do shows there.
They would do shows there.
But it wasn't constant. It wasn't a constant.
Right.
Thing.
Right.
But the thing is that Tom was a really difficult character for a lot of people to get along with. I never could understand that. I always got along with him famously. And he's still one of my favorite people in the world. I never ever had a bad time with him. He was always really easy for me. But he's such a weirdo that, I mean, this is like a great way to illustrate like how San Francisco was starting to degenerate at this time. Mm-hmm. Was that like, to me, Tom Guido represents like the old guard of like San Francisco freakdom. And then there are these new kids coming along, playing in bands, and they just did not get along with him. And
it's pretty good. It's like some weird salad dressing where the vinegar doesn't.
Yeah, the vinegar and oil. They just, people hated him, and there was like fight after fight after fight, and bad scene after bad scene after bad scene, and it was just because people were unwilling to like indulge a freak, and. They were willing.
I remember he worked the bar as a bartender, and then he also was the sound mixer.
He was also the sound mixer,
so
and he was also.
The bar would be like 7 or 8 people deep, like all wanting drinks, and he would suddenly get disgruntled with the sound mix. He'd throw up the little portion of the bar that you walked out through. He would fling it up and. God damn it! And go charging out through this throng of people, shoving people out of the way to remix the bass or something.
Yeah.
This little mix thing was on probably a mixer that was like on a couple of milk crates. Right in front, and he would just like he would twist a bunch of knobs and it
just completely fuck up the sound.
Just completely screw up the sound. Like it sounded probably. At least 3 times worse than it did before. And then he, and then they'd start getting upset.
Yeah, they'd get mad at him, like, you messed up our sound.
And he would be like, oh, fuck off. Or something. And he'd run, as he's running back through to the bar to, like, serve keg beer or whatever the hell is going on there. I was like...
Yeah.
Oh, he would... Do you remember, like, if you put the wrong song on in the jukebox, he'd come running out? Or if he didn't like the band, he would put the jukebox on. Sometimes.
Oh, yeah, and he would turn the band, he would do that,
on.
or like he would just say, or he would just cut off the sound. He would unplug the sound system, and he'd be like, "You guys have to get off now." And like,
he would just deem it like, I don't like this. If they do anything, look at him sideways. He'd unplug it like it's I am the ruler. And you are gone. He would gong the band or whatever, and then he'd turn the jukebox back on, or he'd sometimes skip songs in the jukebox that he had stocked.
Yeah. He stocked it. It was like his way of testing people or something.
Yeah, he stocked the jukebox, and then if he didn't like something, he would advance it. Yeah, he was constantly getting into fights with the.
And then later he was a really bad alcoholic until like later he ended up. Oh God, he spent all the money that he had inherited on putting this place together, and then it stopped. It never made any money, and so he started running out of money. He had to move out of his place. He ended up moving into the Purple Onion.
Yeah, he would sleep there,
and he would. Yeah, and it was like for a long time he had like one booth. There were like a few booths there, and one of the booths was just full of his stuff. And like his bedding,
it was his bedroom,
and like a dirty underwear, and all this stuff. And he would have shows, and he just couldn't go.
That was a booth. That booth was off limits because that was his room.
Yeah, it was his room.